Welcome back, webheads, to the next episode of Spidey Swing-Bys. I'm your host, Christian Ashley, and it has been some time since I recorded, so I apologize for that. I just have not had the time in the midst of juggling other things to also focus on this. So I want to give you my full dedication when I'm on these things, so I just don't do it for the sake of doing it. So here we are. We're back. Walloping web snappers. It's time to get into some Spider-Man, this time being an Amazing Spider-Man number 23. As always, it's time to give an introduction of such things. This is, like I said, Amazing Spider-Man 23. This is written in week 2 of 1965. The release date was January 12th, 1965. The story is entitled The Goblin and the Gangsters. This is written by Stan Lee. It's penciled by Steve Ditko, inked by Steve Ditko, and lettered by Artie Stymek, while being edited by Stan Lee. So, I know you're all very willing to see what else was happening in Marvel this month. Well, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for here? Clunkers. some good things. Not everything is good here, but we'll go and see something good. Starting off at a high point, thank God, with Journey into Mystery 114, where seeking once more to kill his brother Thor, Loki empowers Crusher Creel to become the Absorbing Man who brawls with the mighty Thunder God. And a great introduction to him as a villain. I really do love the Absorbing Man. He's a fun villain to bring out. It's like the idea of we take the properties of whatever I touch and then just use that to fight people. And of course, that he has persisted way longer than a lot of these other characters I'm going to be mentioning today as villains, and even side characters too. Throughout the Marvel Universe as a whole, fantastic villain, worthy adversary of Thor. I do love the and actually, for you Spider-Man fans out there, has fought the Wall Crawler a couple of times, especially after Secret Wars. But that's way far in the future, and if we ever get there, wow, I'll be surprised. But here we are nonetheless. So that's Journey in the Mystery 114. Next up, we have Tales to Astonish 66, where our first forgettable villain appears. Actually, you know what? She's forgettable in the sense that she doesn't appear again, but I wouldn't be opposed to her coming back. We have in Tales to Astonish 66, Madame Macabre, trained by the Mandarin himself, which you think would be really important, by the way. And think, oh, well, obviously she's going to show up again. Turns out, no. She seeks the secret to Giant Man's growth formula, only to be defeated by him and the Wasp, and is promptly never mentioned again. As the Hulk continues to fight some dirty commies, as the leader watches from the sidelines. Said, leader, pretty good villain. Adam McCarr, actually a pretty decent villain. It's a shame she doesn't come back. But as far as Marvel's concerned, that's her one and only appearance. So good luck with that one. Madame Macabre. Macabre. How the heck you want to pronounce that word? Then we have X-Men 10, where Professor X sends the X-Men to investigate who he thinks might be a possible mutant in Antarctica, rather than just, using Cerebro to confirm this, which would have meant the story never happened, but, the story wouldn't have happened, so we forget about Cerebro's existence for a little bit. So instead, they go to the Savage Land and work alongside Kazar for the first time, introducing him to the newer part of the Marvel Universe. He had appeared before, way back when, but this brings him into continuity proper, brings the Savage Land and everything, and there are tons of great stories that come from this. I'm rather affectionate towards Kazar. He's not like the deepest character in the Marvel Universe, but he's a lot of fun. And of course, the Savage Land. I mean, there's plenty of good Spider-Man stories that happen there, plenty of good X-Men stories that happen there. It's a great place. So a worthy introduction, not the best story, but a worthy introduction to some of these ideas, shall we say. Next up, we have a very forgettable issue of the Avengers. Avengers 14, where with the Wasp at death's door, only the one-time appearing character of Dr. Svensson can save her, only for a conspiracy revolving around the also one-time appearing Calusian alien invaders to be brought to light as a result. I say it's harder to find more forgettable alien races. There are a dime a dozen in Marvel. It's like, hey, the Toadmen are coming. We're going to invade the Earth. Then we had the Calusians who just, well, add them to the list, I suppose, and then never have them appeared again outside of other Marvel properties like animation and stuff like that. So that's that. Then we have Fantastic Four 37 in a, what way can I put it? It's a fantastic story where, seeking revenge for the death of her father, the Invisible Girl rallies the Fantastic Four to invade the Skrull Empire. We get some more world building here of how the Skrull Empire works, of how the monarchy is designed, and like who was the one responsible for the death of Jonathan Storm. Yeah, this is. Wait, no. What's her dad's name? Franklin Storm? Jonathan Storm's Johnny's name. I don't know what I'm on today. That's how out of practice I am. My bad. So next up, we have a rather forgettable story of Sergeant Fury. I'm not a war story guy. None of that. I don't like war stories. It's just, I have to be in the proper mood for them. So unless Captain America's in here, I don't really care that much. So Sergeant Fury 16, the Howling Commandos fight in the African theater against the Nazis. Hey, pretty much your standard fare for a Sergeant Fury story. Then we have Strange Tales 130, which on both sides is fairly mediocre, which is weird when the Doctor Strange story is being told here. But there we are. We start off with, of course, how many more issues do we have till they're gone? The Mad Thinker fighting the Human Torch and Thing from afar as Doctor Strange flees from the minions of Baron Mordo. The Doctor Strange story is pretty good. It's not a good for a Doctor Strange story. It's good for the fact that it's next up against the Human Torch side of things for Strange Tales. That's that. Then we have Tales of Suspense 64, where we see the return of Hawkeye and the Black Widow as she comes with a new costume, not the one you know and love, but a different one to accentuate, little bit of difference from the one before. There's still a little bit of the prototype you see from the first costume, but she comes there to help have Hawkeye join her to seek revenge against Iron Man while they're still on the out and out. And then for the Captain America side of things, we kind of get a pseudo reprint, like some dialogue is changed and stuff like that from an original Captain America comic from way back when, where he encounters Sando and Omar, who are some creepy enemies that, they exist. But he also encounters Agent 13 here. And obviously a bit of retconning and stuff like that is involved. It's Marvel. So there you go. I mean, what else are you expecting from this? It's time to get into the meat and potatoes of this bad boy. And we're going to be in Amazing Spider-Man 23, where we start off with the Green Goblin meeting with some local hoods as he's attempting to get them to join him and say that he's there to be the one in charge. He wants leadership of the city's crime to be under his direction, as people make fun of his corny costume, which is a corny costume, but it's a very memorable one, so I let some things slide. And the guy he's talking to is Lucky Lobo. And the Goblin manages to throw a pumpkin bomb, not to kill them, which is what he probably would have done later continuity, but to just stun them for now and say that they should be working for him. People see the Green Goblin, then report on it. And we see a cop here who goes to confront Lucky in... Oh my gosh, is he African-American? Yeah, it looks like he is from the style there, which I think we discussed before. There's been at least one more before this. This one actually looks a little more closer to life as far as coloration goes. So interesting. And Lucky kind of notices, hey, the cops are on my butt, trying to get things done there, trying to take down my operation. So we got to be careful about this. The Goblin is thinking he's going to go speed up his plot. He can't get impatient. So he's going to start the first step to becoming the Green Goblin, King of Crime. Likes the sound of that. Has a nice ring to it. Meanwhile, Peter Parker at his house in Queens is glad that it's Saturday. He could sleep in late. He'll wash up, go down for breakfast, smells some bacon frying from Aunt May cooking it, and then goes upstairs to the attic where he has been washing his costume away from Aunt May. So he has a place where he can do it in safety, but unfortunately it is still too wet. So he's not able to use it and not wear it under his clothes like he would normally do, which is fairly important for the issue. As he speaks with Aunt May about what's going on, she reminds him that if he goes out, he better not be staying out too late, because last issue, she got angry with him about that. So she makes him promise her to call if he's going to be delayed. And Peter agrees to that. So he reads the newspaper on the way back, on the way to work. to go see what's happening at work because of what's being written in the newspaper. And he notices that Betty is not at her desk, but there's a letter there addressed to her. He looks down at it and sees it's from Europe, and it is from Ned Leeds, that he thinks she stopped dating, but obviously there's something still going on there. So his jealousy is peaked here. And not only that, but he notices someone talking to Jonah who he's very suspicious of. He can't put it quite yet there, but he thinks he knows that person, as Jonah's. The man tells Jonah that he's very grateful for him to give him a job here again. Jonah just says he's very soft-hearted, which is actually something I really like about this issue. In Jonah being Jonah, he does believe in second chances. And this is going to backfire later on. But for right now, this is good. It's a good way of making our very cantankerous editor-in-chief once his pictures of Spider-Man will say anything is Spider-Man's fault, but actually believes in other people, believes in reforming criminals. He's still very J. Jonah Jameson about it, but it's a good way to pierce the armor there. And then Peter realizes where he knows that man from. It's Frederick Foswell, who was the big man who was working with the Bugle before, but also organized crime alongside the enforcers. And he asks him, what made you hire him back again, Mr. Jameson? And Jameson says, because I believe in forgiveness, charity, and brotherly love. Which is somewhat true. But remember, our source here is Jameson. And then he says, to cement the jerkish part of his nature, and besides, it'll be good for my public relations. I'll build up an image as a lovable do-gooder. Peter's smiling while inwardly thinking about how he knows he's a phony. Jameson gets mad because he doesn't have any pictures for him and tells him just get out. Calls him a fool teenager as Peter goes to see Betty. Asks her out to go see a movie, but she refuses. Not refuses. She just says no. She declines. It's a better way of putting it. Refuses sounds worse. And he's a little uppy with her because he knows about the letter. And as he leaves, she was, I should have told him about the letter. But I guess I'll mention it some other time. So she doesn't know that he's seen it. Why would she? It's not a respecting her privacy. So Peter then goes to track down Foswell, sees him talking to a crook, and is about to, change into his costume when he realizes, oh, wait, I'm not wearing my costume. So if I intervene in what's happening right here, people are going to know who Peter Parker is, Spider-Man. Which, hey, that typical Parker luck. That's done extremely well here. Yeah, kind of smacks himself in the face. Says, I'm an idiot. Why didn't I think about this? As we see the Green Goblin going to one of the hoods working with Lucky Lobo, who passes on information about his operations, about how he's not working with the IRS. And Goblin's going to use this to his plans. So he's going to give it to Foswell to deliver to Jonah. So we see Jonah at the Midtown Business Executives Club, where we see an interesting figure in two of these panels here. One with a very interesting set of hair, shall we say, who's not named, if I remember correctly, but in the background. So I'm interesting, isn't that? A little bit of foreshadowing there by Ditko and Lee. Well done. And Foswell interrupts the meeting. Jonah gets a little angry, but Foswell has given him the information that he wanted, and which will improve, cement his reputation as a crusading, public-spirited citizen. And Jonah likes what he has to say. The Goblin is very happy about that. So Jonah then delivers the information to the police. Spider-Man, Peter has returned back home. His costume is dry now. He decides to go out and figure out what's happening between Foswell and the Goblin and everything. He sees some police pursuing someone as he watches the Goblin hit them with a bullseye from one of his pumpkin bombs. Spider-Man then follows him around, hoping to not be seen, but the Goblin notices him following him and decides to use this to his advantage. And he's hoping to get Spider-Man to do his dirty work for him by taking down the gang, or at least taking out Lobo, so that he can take over the gang. He then shoots some kind of gas at him, makes him a little twitchy. Spider-Man goes in, and thinking about, it's possible maybe the Goblin's even turned to the side of good. Maybe he's trying to take down these operations, but we know better. Spider-Man intervenes, then fights all the crooks, takes them down systematically. It's very easy. It's exactly how things should go here. No crook in this should be able to take him down. Even when one of them sets off his spider sense by firing a gun, he gets out of the way close enough in time. Then realizes, oh, wait. It's been a while since I talked to Aunt May. I should probably let her know that I'll be a little late. So he locks the door. They fire some shots through it. Then he goes to the telephone and calls Aunt May, tells her, hey, if you asked me to tell you if I was late for dinner, so here I am. And she tells him, oh, what a good boy. So glad that he didn't forget to call. And she asks me if he's dressing warmly. It's a little cold outside, very Aunt May nagging sort of way, but we love her for it. And eventually they hang up on each other, and she says he's a dear boy. He hardly ever forgets to call his Aunt May, and she hopes he gets enough exercise. Eventually they break down the door. Spider-Man holds his arms up and then pulls them down because he has already laid a trap of webbing to take down everyone except for Lobo, who gets away, who tries to shoot at Spider-Man, is not able to do so. Spider-Man easily takes him down. And Lobo reveals that this is what the Goblin wanted the whole time. He wanted him to become, the new boss of the underworld of crime there. But it's too late. Spider-Man's already done what he's done. So he swings after Goblin to try and take him down. But as the two of them tussle, they always get one of those famous flagpoles that are always around when you need them. Spider-Man is able to take him down, but Goblin is able to get away just in time, uses a pumpkin bomb to try and confuse him. That gets him out of the way. Spider-Man swings around and then uses some gymnastics to get around everything, latches on to one of the pumpkin bombs with his webbing, and then throws it away and then attempts to web up the Goblin, but Goblin is too strong, is able to get out a little faster than Spider-Man predicted as the two of them continue on in this brawl. Spider-Man throwing some one-liners about how, he's not really a good pitcher. And Goblin is able to get away because Spider-Man has run out of web fluid. And this, I can't remember when this starts. This may be one of the first, if not the first. But later on, especially in the Brand New Day, this would happen almost every single story. It was one of the most grating things in the world. And I'm already angry because of the events of One More Day. You add cliches like this happening every single time. Editorializing, sorry, but it just reminded me of that. So Spider-Man attempts to get to him, but since he doesn't have his webbing, he's able to just cling on to buildings, cling onto another flagpole, and get up. But he's not able to get to the Goblin. Goblin escapes, and he even says, that guy's got to be a mental case to volunteer for this kind of work, because, of course, Spider-Man gets no respect. He's doing this all for the sake of people. For the great power comes great responsibility, and yet what does he get for it? Almost beaten up, bruised, no webbing, left by himself. And the Goblin manages to get away, having maintained his secret identity, which is something they want to fight over. But as he turns on the news, he learns that the entire gang has been arrested. So everything he did here failed. He wanted to be in charge of Lobo's gang. He just wanted to take down Lobo. But because of Spider-Man, because of what the Goblin did as well, he failed. So Peter can't really web sling around. So he goes from building to building. He's able to get back into his civvies. Tries to call Aunt May to let her know he'll be a little later, but there's a busy schedule. So he figures, oh, well, nothing I can do there. He goes to the Bugle, sees Foswell delivering the news to Jameson about what's happened, and Peter starts to worry, well, if he's so good at this, maybe he might even be able to find out my secret identity, and I'd rather that didn't happen. Jameson asks him why he's there, and Peter says, oh, I've been kind of busy, so I haven't been able to take photos. Jameson is very upset. Peter then talks to Betty about what's going on, and Jameson gets upset for the two of them talking because they have a paper to run here. And Peter says he's going to call Betty when he gets the chance, and is still a little upset she hasn't talked about the letter from Ned Leeds. He's upset about Foswell. He gets home, finds that Aunt May isn't there, and looks around, but she arrives a couple minutes later saying that she went over to Mrs. Watson's next store for a visit. She had left him a note he didn't read. And Peter kind of gets a little sentimental in his own Peter way. Now, what comes over me? Why am I so edgy? My school grades are still tops in the class. Aunt May has been feeling fit as a fiddle. Betty probably just forgot to mention Leeds' letter. I would have beaten the goblin if I hadn't run out of web fluid. And yet I have a strange feeling. A feeling of foreboding, as though some terrible danger is waiting just around the corner. Which, for next issue, yeah, makes enough sense. And that is the end of Amazing Spider-Man 23. A fine story. I think my grade of it improved as I was going over. I think I was originally going to give it like a 7. I think I'm going to give this a 7.5. It's a solid Goblin story. There's some hints here about who he could possibly be. Not enough. Obviously, one of them, the massive one, is one in hindsight that I can look at and say, well, I know who you are working there at that little gentleman's exclusive club or whatever. So not too much attention brought to it, but there's enough there. The mystery is brought up again of who the Goblin could be. Why does he want to be this criminal mastermind? What's in it for him, as well as Peter's social life suffering because that Parker Luck has just got to be Parker Luck. It's a fantastic issue. I would say fantastic. Even with a 7.5, I would give it that kind of a rating. Very fun. So next time, we're going to be in Amazing Spider-Man 24, entitled Spider-Man Goes Mad. And there's a very good reason for that. So until next time, webheads, see ya.